Hello, my name is Derek Hunter, and I am going to talk about Section A9 using known vulnerable components of the Open Web Application Security Project. Owasp is a non-profit organization that's dedicated to security of web applications. The Top 10 document focuses on identifying the most serious risks for organizations that range from education institutes to large corporations. A9 identifies known risks in components like libraries, frameworks, and software modules. If a vulnerable component is exploited, it could cause data loss or complete server takeover. So, for each of these risks, Owasp provides a generic rating system about the likelihood and technical impact of this happening. The ratings include threat agents, which are application specific, attack vectors, which are rated from easy to average to difficult, prevalence security weakness, rated as widespread, common, uncommon, detectability security weakness, rated as easy, average, or difficult, technical impacts rated as severe, moderate, or minor, and the business impacts, which are also application specific. Threat agents. Threat agents are considered anyone who can infiltrate a system and send untrusted data to that system. These threat agents use automated tools that identify and exploit any flaws in that system. By doing this, the threat agent can expand their threat agent pool and get others to help them attack that system. Attack vectors are rated as average exploitability. Attacker can identify a weakness in a component, then the attacker uses that information to find and customize exploits to that system. Then he uses what he's created at that point to reattack that system. Security weaknesses are considered widespread and detectability is considered difficult. That's because every application has these issues. Um, Development teams don't really focus on ensuring that it's secure. Basically, what they do is they work on whatever they have been told to do or whatever they want to focus on. This is open source, so essentially it could be anybody working on it. They don't focus on making sure the component is up to date or anything. In many cases, they don't even know all the components that go into what they're working on. They just work on their little part and that's it. And component dependencies make that even worse. Technical impacts are considered moderate, and possible weaknesses include injection, broken access control, and cross-site scripting. The impact of this could range from, like I say, minimal to complete host takeover and compromise of the data on that system. Examples of this include Apache CXF authentication bypass. By failing to provide an identity token, attacker could invoke any web service they want with full permissions. And that should probably be underlined, full permissions, because that's probably the main problem with these type of applications. Spring remote control execution. Abuse of this expression language implementation in Spring allows attackers to execute any code they want. Effectively, they take over the server completely. And why is this so important? Open source applications allow coders from all over the world to work on one project together. They can quickly create the new software, but the problem with it is there's no visibility into the vulnerabilities in that system. And associated fixes for that system just basically are non-existent until it's reported. Some softwares include Struts 2. It's an open source web application framework that was downloaded 80,000 times. And this was after it had been announced 30 plus times that it was a vulnerability. HTTP client. This software has a broken SSL validation component. It was downloaded 66,000 times a year after the security alert for it was issued. Bouncy Castle. This security flaw is in the cryptographic API. It has a level 10 critical vulnerability that was downloaded 20,000 times 5 years after the warning was given for it. So as you can see, it's a real problem. So how can we prevent these problems? One is to make sure that we're using the most current versions of the application. Two, monitor security components in your databases, project mailing lists, and security mailing lists, and keep all of those up to date. Three, establish security policies, making sure that that component that's being used is up to date and is checked for updates. Require those practices to be in writing so that everybody follows them. Make sure that the system passes security tests and make sure that all licenses are up to date. And consider putting a security wrapper around that component and disabling any unused functionality in that system. And see, I said that the biggest problem is that these things run at such high privileges on that system. Administrative privileges are sometimes required on these systems, so they have to run like that. But if they don't have to, don't use it. Don't allow anything on your system to run with those privileges unless they need them. The questions I want you to focus on and maybe talk about is can you give an example of a company that's using a known vulnerable component that's been in the news? How has some of these companies decided to deal with this issue? And would there be anything else you'd add to my list of how to prevent these issues? Thank you.